Some news when it comes to the NCAA that is recent. In fact, today, just a few minutes ago, an hour ago, the Transformation Committee agreed on a set of numerous recommendations, forwarding to the Division I Board of Directors for review and approval as well. And one of them, Craig, you want to read it? I got it in front of me. Among the recommendations are adjustments to transfer rules and updates to the Division I infractions process to promote time-efficient outcomes, focuses the time and resources of all involved on a modernized set of shared principles, rules, and holds accountable those who are directly involved in rule breaking while minimizing the impact on student athletes who are not involved. The transfer recommendations, intending to stabilize the transfer environment, acquire additional accountability for schools that receive transfer student athletes, and provide student athletes with a window of time to enter the portal each year in order to be eligible to compete for the following year. Some of the changes to the infractions process would include incentivizing, that same word, cooperation of all parties, additional investigative rules, and more flexible within confidentiality rules. Sounds like a lot of words.
They said a lot to not give really many details at all.
Yep. So it sounds like to translate, the first thing is when they punish a school, they need to punish the people involved, and not 5 years later when perhaps the coach has been fired, all the players involved have graduated or transferred. Especially now with the transfer portal, people can leave so quickly, then what's the point of, some of these guys getting punished, and 5 years later after your long investigation revealed exactly what you knew on day one, that you punish a school, well, then that just doesn't seem to make any sense, especially if the school's done something to correct it, like fire the coach or suspend the player or expel the player that violated anything. Then, what are you doing, more than that over that? And then the second one is, yes, there'll be transfer windows, and the transfer windows are because, there just need to be some kind of
all right, let's do our own
box to put that in.
When a player is playing who's in a fall semester sport, and some of them cross over, we know, like basketball, and football can kind of cross into early January. But of any of the fall sports, other than men's basketball and women's basketball, what should be the timeline in the transfer portal to you? Before the end of the school year in May or June? Should it be because is one of the issues not that you can't transfer and not that you shouldn't be able to transfer, but should they button up that hole that is maybe a 30-day window or a 60-day window rather than what seems to be almost a wide open window till May 1st?
Yeah, I don't know. Football is complicated by that there's spring football, and then there's even more, roster movement there. So I don't even know. I just think there need to be I think there should need to be tighter windows so that you have to make your decision, or you have to do it in the fall. I would say, that way, one of the things they said in this report was, so kind of like the Treston Ebner, John Lovett fiasco that happened over a weekend one time where they both said they were going to the transfer portal, and eventually John Lovett did transfer, but they were mad about their use in the offense, and jumping in the transfer portal was just a knee-jerk reaction. If you can stop that by putting windows on it, that you can't go, in the season, you can't go in the transfer portal. But once the regular season's over, you can go in the transfer portal, and then once spring football's over, you can go in the transfer portal.
But Joey McGuire transferred during the season.
So
so that you'll – I don't know, because if a player needs to get in the portal, Craig, and get in early and enter it, knowing that other schools are looking at who may – leave them or who they need, can we curtail when they're allowed to leave?
I don't know. I know one thing. Whoever had to write that press release that basically said nothing, I feel sorry for them, because they had to have proofread that afterwards and be like, what did I actually translate and communicate here? Because it's hard to tell. Basically, there's a bunch of paragraphs to say, hey, they're looking at some stuff and they're going to do some stuff. But, there's no real specifics here. As far as a transfer window, I don't think I would be very keen if I was a coach on guys having the ability to leave a week or two before the season. I think that you would have to, at that point, kind of know. Now, I understand there might be a quarterback competition scenario where they don't name a guy till late. So we can go through every scenario, and there's going to be something that can complicate it. But, ultimately you have to decide on things. I think that you should be able to know who's on your football team or who's out a couple weeks before the season. If a guy needs to, wait until 3 days before the year starts, then I'm sorry, you're not going to be eligible to play anywhere, and obviously you wouldn't be because it's 3 days before the season, but there needs to be some kind of a blockade there where it doesn't directly affect the teams, where it helps both parties, but I don't think somebody needs to be negatively damaged as the season's starting by somebody being able to jump in the transfer portal. I think if you can secure yourself from that. So, hey, if you're going to leave, you're going to bolt, you got a couple weeks you got to be able to tell us before. You can't say the week of the game kind of a thing.
Well, let me ask you this. You don't think we'll ever see and I don't know it because I have not paid that much attention to it. Maybe I should. Could you ever see a player in the semester of the season of enter the transfer portal and play for somebody else?
No, you can't do that.
So that's one thing.
But I'm talking about for the if you have a quarterback competition or something like that, and you know who's on your roster, you want to know who's on your roster. I don't think you should be surprised that a quarterback bolts the week before the season starts. But again, there's competitions and guys don't name people till late, so there's going to be a problem with everything. But you know what? I'd like to have a Domino's pizza at 3:00 in the morning. But guess what? There's hours that they're open and hours that they're closed. So that's how I'm looking at this. There's certain hours that they're open for business, and there's certain hours that they're closed, just like anything else. And what those hours are, that's what everybody's going to argue over. But I think you should know who's on your team or who's not. And there's going to be exceptions to that. Some dude gets fed up, like the Treston Nebner example that you mentioned that was right before the season started. There's going to be things like that happen, I'm sure, or guys in the middle of the year. But as best you can, to just know who's on your freaking team. I don't think that's asking all that much,
Well, yeah, and look, a lot of the guys who jump into the transfer portal in the middle of the year haven't played all that much. So, you're not, that's why they're jumping in the transfer portal. But, yeah, you shouldn't be able to, I lost the quarterback competition. The first game is next week. I'm out.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's happening.
We need a break, but Charlie Brewer did that at Utah.
Yeah. But look, I'll say this for everybody. If Spencer Rattler, the most look-at-me guy going into a school that we had a reality show about him, can grin and bear it and make it through the season after he loses his job, so can you.
Yes.
When we come back,